Cory Arcangel was born May 25, 1978 in Buffalo, New York, a contemporary multimedia artist best known for his post-conceptual art that utilizes mediums such as drawing, media, music, video clips, performance art, and video game mods. Arcangel explores his interest for digital technology, pop culture, and classical arts by using them as artistic strategies to create simple but yet complex abstract pieces. His work heavily deals with the involvement of technology, post-conceptualism, and consumerism. He utilizes older tech and obsolete materials surrounding the late 80s to early 2000s to explore the nostalgia of them and recreate a new purpose for them to display to his fellow audience.
300 DPI, RGB square pixels, default gradient spectrum, mouse down Y equals 1098, X equals 1749.9, mouse up equals Y equals 0, X equals 4160. So that is basically the exact Photoshop instructions on how to produce this image. My name is Cory Arcangel, and this is a show called Adult Contemporary. Maybe I should stand over here. I think it would look cool if I stand in front of it. I guess the idea is I kind of bought a lot of video equipment off of eBay, and I just kind of hooked it all together, and it was equipment that I didn't really know how to use. And I just hooked it all together and started hitting random buttons. And so kind of what you see is a result of a kind of pretty much uninformed improvisation with technologies that I don't really have much control over. This is a piece called Permanent Vacation, and it is basically two iMacs which are stuck in an infinite out-of-office reply loop. So this computer emails that one and it responds that it's out of office, and then this one will respond back it's out of office, and about every 2 minutes it does that, and so it'll just go forever. Well, I guess I work in video and film and print, but I guess the thing that ties it all together is maybe that I have a bit of a bent towards a kind of computer, kind of like maybe even like a computer nerd. Well, I don't know if I would say that, but it's definitely a bent towards an interest in computers and the internet and stuff like that. Okay, we can go in here. It's one of my favorites. Probably one of my favorite things I've ever made. This is what it looks like. This little computer chip attached to the controller, which essentially plays it plays the game over and over and bowls just gutter balls every time. I was always working on the computer.
Arcangel studied classical music at the Conservatory of Music, but later switched his major to technology of music, where he pursued to study the techniques used in music production. Cory Arcangel was first introduced to experimental video by artists such as Nam June Pak through the Squeaky Wheel Buffalo Media Art Center. During this time, Arcangel began to experiment with different types of medias through the playful and humorous use of appropriation, manipulation, hacking, and reusing. Arcangel started to create computer art in the late 1980s during the industrial to post-industrial switch. Although it seemed like a new era of individuality and unfiltered access to expression, Arcangel realized how much this new age came with political control. Though many critics felt that contemporary avant-garde movements were ill-intended and delusional. Arcangel's work is ever-changing, which makes it fascinating for viewers because it gives us a chance to see the different mediums he used and how the variety of them changed through time. He reminds us of the relationship between conceptual art and performance art through his work. Arcangel sought out to teach and make it more accessible for his viewers, so he used open source code so that his work and production techniques are available for his audience. Though Arcangel denies any political reasoning behind his art, he continues to display his art to break boundaries amongst different groups of people. His fame and accomplishments have grown over the course of his career due to his fascinating, complex pieces that have captured the attention of his audience, such as the famous Super Mario Clouds in 2002, the modified aesthetic visual presentation of this video game to only display the game's background clouds, leaving the background to scroll slowly from right to left. I Shot Andy Warhol in 2002, a modified version of the video game Hogan's Alley. It held similarities to the original, except the gangsters were replaced by Andy Warhol and the innocents had been replaced by the Pope, Colonel Sanders, and Flavor Flav. Known by critics as a complete binary mod, both the graphics and the programs have been modified. Currently, the game is downloadable and ready to play. Though to some it appeared simple, the Photoshop CS series were large C-prints of digital gradient paintings created based off of complex coloring tool instructions built into the image processing software of Photoshop. These pieces appear to be color-filled paintings or pop art in some way. For example, one 2008 work is titled Photoshop CS 110 by 72 inches, 30 dpi, RGB, square pixel, default gradient spectrum, mouse down, y 10 equals 1098, x equals 174.9, mouse up, y equals 0, x equals s slash.
I think that museum and galleries are great because they force a kind of longer perspective on the work. Like, what will this look like in 100 years? Ultimately, even though I'm working with a lot of cultural artifacts that are relatively current, it is my goal that they have greater relevance in the future. Generally, I wouldn't call myself a new media artist, like consciously. Maybe 10 years ago when people said new media, they meant a particular kind of art, which was blinking LEDs or something. Now when people say new media, I think it's meant more broadly. Just any kind of media that hadn't previously existed. I love pop culture, but also, I have a great interest in the history of the avant-garde and what all these other artists have done to play around with what art is and the meaning of art. It's a game, I think. All new media becomes old within like 2 years, and so all new media is old media. Although in the larger scope of art history, it is new. A few years ago, I won an auction for an obsolete architectural printer, which prints with pen and pencil. All of a sudden, when I found that I could draw and be in front of a computer at the same time, I was like, oh, I'm gonna start drawing. This is like perfect. They're technically kind of prints, but they're also drawings. And I like to pick things that people can't really yet see its value. It hasn't yet become of interest. The game is always to give people something that they recognize, but that might not entirely make sense to them.
Arcangel's abstract and conceptual work continues to become more recognizable by various groups of people within and outside of the art world, thus showing that his career and style of artwork will only continue to grow from here.